Hey all from Hinterland or Web Wonderland. Right now what I'm going to show you is still to be defined from my end, but just wanted to show you some interesting things that might save you quite a bit of time. As you know, I've spent quite a bit of time trying to bridge between a trading platform, open source, done in C#, as well as trying to have it communicate with Matlab. I guess now I'm learning the term components from Matlab using the Matlab Builder Any toolbox. So I just want to show you some examples that might be helpful for people that are trying to do this. It can get kind of hairy. First of all, there's a couple of resources I put on line that showed you how to do this. They were using Visual Studio, or sorry, Matlab 2009. I'm using Matlab 2011. Some of the example code that they use from within the C# just doesn't appear to work for whatever reason, and that became a big time waster for me. So I decided to stick with the Matlab or MathWorks website, as well as the example code as well. So right now what you're looking at is the MathWorks toolbox .NET Builder example right here. Obviously this is for sample applications done in C#. I'm going to try to give you a quick overview of both the phone book example and the spectra analysis example. Okay, so going into Matlab, once you do install it, and again, I've been using Matlab 2011A. The current release right now is 2012A. So this should still be compatible, but I could be wrong. Who knows? Anyways, let me show you where to go under your Matlab. So what you do is you come under your Matlab root directory. You go under your toolbox, .NET Builder, and then you'll find your example codes here under your Visual Studio 8, .NET, and then the two examples again being used are the Spectra example as well as the phone book example. There's two reasons for this. I'll just show you that in a minute. So I've created two temporary folders under .NET Builder. There's a phone book example. Let me show you that one first. As I said, I'm learning the new terminology from Matlab. The Matlab code deployed with the Builder Any toolbox. They deploy a package which becomes your component for Matlab. So let me show you the Matlab function, which is very simple, a make phone M function. And this is it. All you really care, you don't care what it does. All you care about is the input and the output arguments. So we have a inbound function or inbound a structure basically, and that's the input argument, and the output is book, which is a structure as well. So that's basically the Matlab function. And essentially what it looks like in Visual Studio with C# is this. So this is a phone book application that you can generate for Visual Studio. I'm using Visual Studio 2010 Ultimate. So essentially we got to do the usual, add your MW array reference, and then your phone book component, which is generated using the deploy tool for the Matlab Builder Any toolbox. Let me just show you my example. So coming under the phone book component, I'll run the deploy tool in Matlab, and I'll create my new DLL, this phone book component DLL, which is essentially, I just added this as a reference as well as the usual MW array, which can be found under the toolbox directory as well. If you need to know where that is, I'm going to show you that in a minute. Yeah, just give me a second here. Okay, so if you come under toolbox, I believe it's under bin, Win64 version 2. This is where you'll find your MW array DLL. So again, it's under your toolbox, .NET Builder, bin Win64 version 2.0, and you have to add that as a reference in your C# project. So these two need to be added as references. Just come under Add Reference, right click, Add Reference, and navigate to those 2D DLLs. And I've shown you how to do this within other videos, but that's just a general overview. So let me show you the manipulation of the code. The phone book is a class to the Matlab function, which I'll show you in a minute. And then you create your usual, this is your input value or variable, that's a structure, remember. And then the result, and then this is your outbound argument. So again, this is what you're essentially doing side by side. The class, friends, which is your input structure, the result, but the book is the resulting output from make phone, but you got to do it through this result. I'll show you what I mean. Essentially, this is the easy way to do it. So you instantiate the class, the object, you create a string array, name phone, and then you manipulate. Then you have to create a new object or define it using this M structure, 2-column by. This is where I'm still confused. I'll have to look that up in the documents. And then you have a column, name, phone, and you manipulate it first index, second index, third index, fourth index, blah blah blah, on and on it goes. So we make the call right here. Remember I showed you the phone book object for the class. This is it here, the phone book, and that is defined in this phone book component. So you make your call to the phone book make book. Where to go? Yeah. So you make make phone function, one argument, friends, and this is basically it. Friends. That's how you communicate with the two. Okay. And then the outbound is this result. But you still have to do some data manipulation. So you have your result. This is your first element from the result, and all you care about, because there's only one argument coming out of make phone, one outbound or resulting parameter, I guess. I'll show you another example in the next Matlab example. But right now you're just focusing on the one, the first one. That's it. Okay. So we manipulate it through this means. It's an array, even though it's really a structure from within the world of Matlab. And then this is how we manipulate it. So in this case, in this example, it's going to pull out the second structure, or the second element of that structure, name, phone, and external. Okay, and that's out of the book string array, which is right here. Okay, and that's how you do it. So essentially, it's quite hairy and this is a simple one, I must add, to make a call to Matlab using the NBuilder or the Builder NE product. And this is what the code does. So again, this is your phone book, so you can look at it in further detail. That's using structures for calling and manipulating structures from C# from the world of Matlab. So let me show you another example, the spectral analysis. Now this one's not easy to pick up. So under my .NET Builder temporary folder, I've got this spectra example, which is essentially, spectral example. So here's the component, here's the model. So let's just focus on the compute FFT function. We don't care about the other one. So right here is the function. Now this is where it's going to get confusing. The compute FFT Matlab M function has two input. One's an array or a matrix, and this one's a double. So essentially that's the matrix, this is the double, so it's two of them. The outbound, and again we don't care about the Matlab code, all we care about is the input and outbound the output of this function. We don't care about what the MATLAB code. But essentially, the three variables or whatnot coming out of the compute FFT. There's three of them. This FFT, data, frequency, and power spec. I believe that these are all matrices, but we'll come to it in a second. Okay, let's get into the code of this. I'll pull up the proper solution file for Visual Studio. We want the spectral analysis, this one. Okay, now remember, this is going to get kind of hairy. I'm still have no complete answers to it, but I'm just trying to show you so far my interpretation of things. Again, you got to add the usual references: MW array, spectral component, which is from the deploy tool in the MATLAB. So here's the data. This is the inbound to define our input parameters for this compute FFT, which is basically these two: data and interval. Okay, so here's the interval. It's a double. It's just a simple constant. That's fair enough. Data, which is an array, a MATLAB array from the world within C#. This is where I'm kind of confused. I still got to figure out what this means. If these are values within the array, so they're defined as real, double, and number of samples, which is the number of rows for that, let's say, matrix. So in this case, there's number of samples 1001, and that's how you define the array. Okay. Yeah, so there's some definitions right here, and now we got to manipulate and create that data array. So obviously this is where it's creating it right here. But where I get confused is this real and double definition. Not sure how that's figured out. Okay, so let's look at how it's called. So we've created this signal analyzer object for MATLAB, which is defined in here, this spectral component. And then we call the method, or really this function, which is your M function right here. This is it here. That is essentially what you're calling. So you have three parameters: your data, your interval. It's the same data interval. Now, again, what I'm kind of confused on, this is the number of parameters that you're calling, but as you see, there's only really two. So I need to figure that out, but these are things that you got to work on as you move into it. So we have MW array, and here's your args out result. Okay, and this is how you manipulate this args out. Okay, so in this sense, you got to obviously cast it to MW numeric array, your first element. Okay. Which is essentially saying this is your FFT data, okay? And you know, you put your result array into it and args out, okay? So here's your second one, args out 2, args out 1, which is essentially your frequency. So that's your second one that you're working on that's your second output variable. Which again is their frequency. The first one's FFT data. Remember, it's all zero based. 0, 1, so it's 1, 2 really. And then you have your third one, which is this one right here, your args out 2. So that's fairly easy to figure out. And as it says, you can easily figure that out because this is your frequency right here, which again is your second one. The first one, your FFT. So you can kind of figure it's the same. Alright, so I'm going to do some further investigating. This is essentially how you do it. I'm hoping that this will help you out. So just stick with the MathWorks or MATLAB example source files. right now I wouldn't recommend using any of the third party because something could break if you move from one version of Matlab to the other using your C# code. I can't guarantee that if that's the case or not, but just be aware of that. So just stick with your, like I said, your Matlab example code for using the builder any. My apologies if this is very confusing, but this is how MathWorks has set it all up and how to manipulate it. It's kind of confusing, I know, and I've spent numerous days on it, and probably another good couple hours to figure it out. All right, hopefully I'll help you out, and talk to you later.